They'd never heard of Earth. Not in any official capacity. Not in the Council's threat databases. Not in the thousand-year chronicles of conquest that lined the obsidian halls of the Serati Dominion, but something had shifted. High Executor. Vel sat motionless as the war map flickered before him. His spindly fingers curled around the edge of the table, claws twitching as reports streamed in like bleeding ink. "What are we seeing here?" he asked, voice quiet, precise, unknown. "Vessels entering Sector 47R, said Strategist Core. "There." "Large. How large?" Core hesitated. "Larger than anything we've classified as real." The council chamber dimmed. Holograms danced across the air battlefield scans, sensor data, panic distress beacons. But none of them showed the two invaders clearly. That was the first sign something was wrong. "Have our allies been notified?" Vel asked, narrowing his 6 eyes. "They were the ones who called us first," Core replied. "They assumed the ships were ours." A low murmur broke out around the table. The council, comprised of 11 war-hardened species, had never faced a threat they hadn't first understood. Not in 10,000 years, but these new ships. They were ghost-like, silent, no identifying broadcasts. No preliminary threats. They didn't jam comms. They just ignored them. Vel stood and walked toward the center dais. "Play the last known recording." The chamber dimmed again. A crackling voice filled the air. Alien. Raspy. "This is Kel Tharn. Patrol Omega, responding to signals near the Jast Fringe. Unidentified ships entering from dark space trajectory. No transponders. No energy signatures. They wait. One just turned toward us. It's bigger than the station. The feed cut out." "What happened to them?" Vel asked. "They vanished," Core answered. "Not destroyed, not jammed, just gone." A second strategist chimed in, nervous. "We believe one of our allies attempted a missile volley. The moment the payload left its tubes, every single ship in the fleet detonated, simultaneously." "Vel's?" Mandibles flexed. "Detonated? As in?" "No impact. No counterfire. They just collapsed in on themselves. Like the space around them turned hostile." The room went silent. Someone at the far end, a young Keshani representative, whispered, "Maybe we shouldn't have answered the signal." Everyone turned. Vel's gaze locked onto the boy. "What did you say?" "It wasn't meant for us," the Keshani muttered. "It wasn't even ours. The beacon came from a minor colony neutral zone, but our allies were stationed nearby and went in." "You think it was a trap?" "I think it was a test. AVD spike, the kind of line that chills without shouting, and—" "We walked into it," another muttered. Strategist Core's fingers danced along the table, pulling up telemetry. "Sir, we've got something else." A fresh scan bloomed into the air. A ship, not blurry, not cloaked. Just. Wrong. It looked like a spear made of obsidian and fire. No visible engines, no seams, no rotating systems. Its surface shimmered with silent hatred. "That's not alien," someone whispered. "That's Terran," Core finished. Vel's voice dropped. "Earth." Someone laughed short, nervous. "Earth's fleet is barely even ranked. They have a few defense ships, some. Tech sharing with outer factions." "No," Core interrupted, voice low. "Those were just the ships we knew about." Vel's claws dug into the control table. "They've been building something." The ship moved across the screen without inertia, without warning. As if it didn't obey the same physics, and then came the moment that changed the galaxy. Second ship appeared. Then a third. Then a wall. Not of dots. Of shadows blotting out stars. Planetary defense satellite caught the reflection. The camera zoomed. Every ship bore the same symbol. Carved in iron, not painted. No translation needed. It was a simple human word. Er to the young Kashani boy whispered again, almost reverent. They're not coming to fight. What then? Vel barked. They're coming to prove a point. In the silence that followed, someone tried hailing them. The message bounced. Another tried issuing surrender protocols. Nothing. Finally, Kor stared at the growing armada with something between awe and dread. They heard our allies scream, he said slowly. And they didn't flinch. They didn't warn us. Vel turned, 6 eyes glowing. Then what did they do? Kor didn't blink. They came anyway. And that was before Earth even responded. Keep formation. Shields front. They'll test. Our line before breaching the center. Captain Threll of the Zarkathi Battle Order stood tall at the center of the command deck. He wore a black carapace that shimmered like oil under pressure. His 4 eyes narrowed as distant stars bent slightly in the viewport. His warship, Ravka, had never lost a battle. Not in 2 solar cycles. Not when surrounded. Not when outgunned. And certainly not against a race that had no galactic standing just weeks ago. Any reply from the unidentified fleet? Threll asked. His comms officer, a thin-skinned Ferrani with violet veins, shook her head. They're not responding. They're not even scanning us. It's like we're not worth their time. Threll didn't like that. Zoom in on their lead ship. The screen shifted, and suddenly the bridge went silent. It wasn't just large. It wasn't just alien. The ship on screen seemed to eat the void around it. There were no glowing engines. No blinking nav lights. It hovered like death made of. Iron. The ship bore no name on the hull. But every officer aboard Ravka knew what it was. U.S. Black Star. Impossible, one officer whispered. That ship was a rumor, a Terran joke. A prototype that never launched. Threll turned to weapons. Arm plasma lances. If they so much as flinch, before he could finish the order, the Black Star moved. It wasn't fast. It wasn't slow. It was intentional. Every sensor on Ravka screamed, not because it was locking weapons. Because it wasn't. It's not targeting us, said the sensor chief, voice trembling. It doesn't even care that we're here. On screen, a dozen. Other Terran ships slipped in behind the Black Star. Smaller vessels, nimble, no shields, no energy fields, but they moved like predators. Then something happened that no one on Ravka could comprehend. The Black Star sent a signal, 1 line. You had your chance. No encryption. No translation matrix. Just a raw Terran voice. And then the galaxy changed. The Black Star didn't fire cannons. It ripped space itself. A burst of controlled singularity folded the fabric of the sector for a fraction of a second. 4 coalition destroyers vanished from the star map. Not destroyed, not burned. Removed from this dimension like they had never existed. The Ravka shook. Not from impact, but from the concept of what just happened. That wasn't a weapon, the science officer said. That was architecture. Threll gritted his mandibles. Retreat. Sound the retreat. But it was too late. Black Star wasn't alone. Dozens of Earth's ships exploded into existence through localized slip-space rifts, not along safe hyperlanes. Through prohibited zones, radiation fields, dead space scars. They came from where no ships were meant to come from. Threll watched as a formation of Terran ships slammed through a Gorthan battlesphere, piercing its core and folding it like paper. Did they build this? He asked aloud. How did we miss it? No one answered. The truth said heavy. Earth hadn't just built these ships in secret. They'd waited. They'd watched. And when the galaxy mocked their silence, when they belittled the Terran tiny fleet, Earth didn't shout. They sent Black Star. No fanfare, no ultimatum, just fire, and a message the whole galaxy would remember. You had your chance. This wasn't supposed to happen. The voice didn't belong to a soldier. It belonged to High Strategos Corvan, Supreme Coordinator of the Chila Zinthari Accord. He'd overseen dozens of campaigns, outmaneuvered species 3 evolutionary tiers above his own, and now he stood in a dimly lit war chamber, trembling before a hologram of Earth's forward fleet. The Coalition command bunker beneath the planet, Jostuan, was built for endurance, layered with obsidian-hard alloys and protected by gravitational domes. No ship had ever pierced its airspace until now. "We counted a dozen Terran fleets in the solar archives," hissed Commander Valmek, a 4-jawed brute from the Oralan dynasty. 12, not thousands. "They weren't fleets," said another. "They were decoys, or bait." The table fell silent. On the central display, the Black Star loomed. It did not flash. It did not broadcast. It simply existed, unapologetic and immovable. "They're not engaging our flanks," a Farani tactician pointed out. "Not pursuing retreating squadrons. They're heading straight for command structures." Someone swallowed audibly. "They're not interested in victory," she said. "They want ... got closure." An alarm blared. Red lights spilled across the walls. The bunker shook. Everyone froze. "They've entered Jostuan's gravity well," said the bunker AI. "A single Terran vessel. Designation, USS Black Star." Corvan blinked. "One?" the AI confirmed. Valmek bared his fangs. "They send one ship into a fortified planet? Do they mock us?" But then the lights flickered, not from power disruption, from atmospheric interference. On the display, the Black Star began descending. It didn't burn as it broke through clouds. It silenced them. Every electromagnetic sensor, every orbital satellite, every sound channel dead. Not jammed, not fried, just erased. "What kind of tech is that?" someone asked. "No tech," whispered the Farani. "That's not a weapon. That's intent made real." As the war room fell into a panic, the main doors burst open. A lieutenant, charred and wide-eyed, collapsed at the threshold. "They're inside," he gasped. They boarded, without breach points, without atmosphere suits. They just ... walked in. Corvan's voice cracked. "How many?" The lieutenant bled from the eyes. One. Then the lights went out completely. For 3 full seconds, there was only breathing. Then the Black Star spoke, not over comms, not through tech, through the air itself, through vibration. A voice, human and unhurried. "We asked you to stay away." Someone screamed. Another tried to draw a weapon, but it disassembled itself in his hand, falling into a dust-like heap of parts. A corridor. Light buzzed once, then illuminated a figure standing alone at the far end. Human. Or something shaped like one, clad in obsidian armor so dark it seemed to drink in reality. No insignias. No helmet. Just eyes dim white, like moons under eclipse. Ko Arvan took a step back. "What do you want?" The being answered, "This isn't war." It walked forward, slow, soundless. "This is your reminder." Weapons fired. Didn't matter. The figure reached the room, stepped into the light, and paused. "I want you to remember the moment you realized silence wasn't weakness." Another step. "I want you to feel this breath forever." He raised one hand. A vibration hummed in every wall, and the war room, one of the most secure places in the galaxy, collapsed inward like it had never existed. From orbit, the Black Star drifted above the impact zone. No retaliation came. No one else spoke. Not even the stars seemed willing. And across the sector, across every moon and every system that had mocked Earth, one phrase began to echo without being spoken. "Didn't come to fight. They came to end you." As the galaxy reels from the annihilation at Jostuan, the myth of the Black Star becomes more than legend, it becomes doctrine. The final Terran transmission is received not as a threat, but as law. And in the void where arrogance once reigned, fear settles in. They called it the Silence Line, a radius of nothingness hundreds of light years across where once thriving colonies, outposts, and fleets had simply stopped transmitting. No distress calls, no combat logs, no trace of conflict, just absence. Some tried to explain it as a gravitational anomaly. Others whispered of ancient weapons Earth had never declassified, but those who survived the initial campaigns, the lucky few left drifting in escape pods or buried under collapsed bunkers, told a different story. They didn't say Earth attacked, they said Earth arrived. The USS Black Star became a name never spoken aloud, not for superstition, for survival. Across galactic channels, an untraceable pulse message began broadcasting. Just once, always the same sequence. It traveled faster than light slipping through secure military networks, jumping through wormhole beacons, piercing encrypted alliance systems. And every time it played, the galaxy listened. This is Earth. You broke your treaties. You hurt our colonies. You pushed. This is your last warning. Then silence taught them the absence. The Threxian High Command vanished within days. The Vornar's moons turned red not from blood, but from atmospheric scarring. No blast had touched them, no visible force. Just a reconfiguration of nature itself. As if Earth had rewritten the laws of local reality with a whisper. On the rimworlds, smugglers and scavengers reported seeing ships the size of continents, slow, drifting things with no visible weapons, each bearing no name, each made of obsidian and light, each followed by a trail of silence. One scavenger, Orlek Dren, spoke too much about what he saw near the ruins of Mikun. I heard a song, he said, trembling. A melody that didn't come from anywhere. It made my ship cry. I don't know how else to say it. 2 days later, he was gone. Not killed, not arrested, just removed, by Chapter 4. The council that once mocked Earth's voice was gone. Chairs left empty. Their banners torn down not by Terran hands, but by their own allies, who no longer wished to be noticed. The new galactic map was drawn with a hollow border, human space, uncharted, undescribed, untouched. The only place where no species dared enter, not even by accident. The Goran archivists, once proud historians of the galaxy's great wars, entered Earth's name in their annals, not under nations, not under allies. Under a new heading, forces not to be interfered with, and in tiny text beneath it, if you hear silence, leave. But it wasn't just fear, it was memory, memory of a fleet that didn't boast, ships that didn't glow, weapons that didn't fire because they didn't need to, memory of the Black Star. Not just a vessel, a symbol, a final moment, a last offer. Because what Earth gave the galaxy wasn't death, it was a choice. Stay out, live, cross the line, vanish. Somewhere. Drifting alone beyond the Oort sector, the USS Black Star moved, it had no crew, no AI, no pulse, and yet it moved. Inside its hull, every system was quiet, except for one blinking light on a control panel deep in its war core, awaiting violation. That was Earth's final gift to the galaxy, a warship that never slept, and only ever needed to wake up once.